All right. Um, Shalom, shalom, Israel. This your brother Nai Yaakov. I'm getting ready to set in again with you on another video. Let me brighten my screen so I can see what's going on. All right. So this video about to be on a twofold with regards to two things. One, Solomon's court, and not Solomon's porch, Solomon's court. Okay, his courthouse. The place wherein he judged, and also I'm gonna talk about why save Israel. Okay, what's causing the Father to react, to act? And I'm doing this video because I just saw a post that said something along the lines of, if any of y'all think that the Father is coming back because of anything that we're doing, or because of us, then you're wrong. And the thing is, um, everyone who has that mindset, you don't understand what his namesake actually means. And therefore, I'm going to talk about why save Israel in his namesake. These are twofold. Uh, they go hand in hand, basically. He's saving them because of his namesake. And the only thing that y'all need to, the main thing about his namesake, we all need to understand. I'm going to talk about that in this video. So first, Solomon's court. What happened? The form, the type, the image that you get with regards to Solomon's court, his courthouse, the place wherein he judged, City Hall, basically. What you get is a lot of people coming to see his wisdom, see how he judges, um, um, and to fathom at the grace in which he moves and judges and did what he did. This whole world has now been placed in the form or in the type of Solomon's courthouse. What I mean by that is this. Y'all can look at my past videos, and I'm only reiterating what I've already said to you all. But the rich, the poor, the great, the small, the white, the black, the Israelite, the Jew, we've all been placed on leveled ground. And you may ask, Anaya, how is that the case? How have we been placed on leveled ground? Please explain it to me. Well, leveling the playing field is the same way as leveling the true nature or the true essence, the beginning of every single man. To level the beginning of a man is to cause every single being to come into the world, come into the earth by the exact same means and no different, which makes us all begin at the exact same point. Let's go into it a little bit further. With regards to, good morning to you. How you doing, sir? All right, all right. With regards to leveling the playing field, every man is born in this earth via a woman. Born of a woman, into the flesh, seed planted by the man, cultivated in the womb, 9 months or so, and starting off as an infant, innocent, with no deeds. And so from that, every man is equal. Every man is equal. Doesn't matter who you are. From that, there is no different. When you look at a baby, all you see is a baby. There's no deed with which you can call that baby by. There's the only thing that carnal eyes see is that they see color. Okay, and from that color, that's the only thing that a carnal man would actually decide that he has the right to say yay or nay, a difference between this baby and the next, when truly there is no difference, none whatsoever. Now in the Most High's mind, he sees a baby. Okay, and now the Father knows the development of the soul within that baby, or the nature of that baby. Okay, and from that nature, he can make a choice, whether it be of a humane or parasitical nature, or of a bestial or earthly nature. The beasts of the field and things like that. So the Father knows that, and from that, he never chooses the bestial nature or the animal nature or the earthly nature, fleshly nature, whatever you want to call it, the lower nature. He never chooses man based off the lower nature. He disregards it. It means nothing to him. And yet we all have forced ourselves or live our lives or caused ourselves to be of the flesh. And so sin in the law is his way of, one, identifying the lower nature, and with the law taking yourself away from the lower nature with a resistance of will. Okay, which that basically is what the law is doing. It's causing you to resist all that the Father knows is an animal nature, and to replace that animal nature with a higher nature that he himself is. Okay, and so listen at the words that I'm saying. I'm removing the veil for you to kind of see under what Moses was talking about from day one. Okay, and why the Father chose Jacob over Esau, which was described of a bestial nature, being hairy garment and things like that. And being of a warlike nature. And then you have Jacob, who was of a humane nature. And so the Father himself from paradise planted a seed in man, and this seed is his seed, his cultivating, his bringing up, his nurturing. It's his work in the garden of man. Okay, and so he followed that seed in the scripture, and chose that seed and promised that seed, and all who take up that seed. This is where you get to the true understanding of who Israel is, and how the Father begins and makes his we call it the election of grace, whereby that seed has been tried and true with regards to the true things of the Father in the heart of that man, whether he would love the Father or not. So we're all leveled when it comes down to that, because we're all born with the same properties, the same essences, and yet the wicked are estranged from the womb. Okay, and also the righteous are also called from the womb, as we know in Jeremiah. When I was in my while I was yet in the womb of my mother, the Father yet knew me. He knows the humane seed, the seed he planted, as opposed to the seed he did not plant. And yet the wicked one is the one that planted the bestial nature in man. And we all must wrestle against that bestial nature, the same as the humane seed of Jacob did, and receive what the Father calls as Israel, the one who is triumphant over the lower nature and receptive to the higher nature, the higher mentality of mankind, with regards to heavenly and parasitical things above that of the stars. Okay? And this is how man is. Every man has the ability to hear of the parasitical things, the heavenly things of life, and whether they choose to follow and do those things of life, that's what begins to dictate which seed that they are, because the water that you choose to receive, the nourishment that you choose to receive, is the water and the nourishment that you are caused to be of. And so if you choose the heavenly waters, you become a heavenly being. If you choose the earthly waters, then you become a bestial being. Okay? And so we all have the ability to choose and eat and sup and drink from whatever well we choose and desire to drink from. So Solomon's courthouse is the exact same thing. You have two women coming in to his courthouse with one baby. And so now these two women have one thing in common, that baby. Okay? And the thing is, there's also a difference between the two. One had a baby that perished, and one is the baby truly belongs to. And so in Solomon's courthouse, his objective of wisdom, the function, the tool of wisdom that he knew had to happen, is this: no judgment could ever be rightly made until the truth comes out. Okay? Without the truth, there's absolutely no possible way to make a proper, right judgment towards anything. And so the hidden man that is in the shadows, that's hiding away, must come out to the open. Okay? And this is the mark of the beast, or the mark of God. And so the only way to draw that out, how you doing, neighbor? All right, all right. The only way to actually draw that out of man is to sit up here and put them both through an extreme and equal similar situation. And based upon that equal similar situation, out of man comes his true nature. You see, when man's back is against the wall, or when man goes through an extreme circumstance, who he truly is comes out. I, for myself, am a witness and can attest to this. I must admit to myself that I am weak. Okay? That in extreme situations, I soar and I care about the one that's hurting me so much that I would let them hurt me and would not return the favor. I would walk away. I would simply leave them alone. I would never again bring myself to terms to talk with that person. Yet I'll continue to try that person if that person continues to come within my kingdom, within my world, my vicinity. Then I would try them with kind words, and if evil words continue to pour out of them, then they have not changed. things like that. If prideful words, if covetous words, if any type of ignorant word continues to pour out of their heart, out of the mouth comes the abundance of the heart. And so if they continue to pour out their heart in a bestial way, then I have to continue to stay away from them and stay back from them, because they can likely hurt me, because of a truth, I am weak for the time being, because there's a power that's going forth in the earth where my speaking will go forth. The approbation of the Father will soon go forth in the world, so that those who seem to be weak, through their speaking and through their wisdom, they'll show forth great power without having to use a single might of their hands. Okay? Because if man depends on the might of his hands, he is no use in the presence of God. You understand what I'm saying? And that's something y'all need to realize and understand. And until you understand that, you'll never learn how to speak and walk of a humble and contrite heart before all of man, and still not feel ashamed for being humble. Still not have to feel like you got to rise up and hurt the next man. Things like that. Because you have to realize that there is a judge in the earth, and that's where I'm at right now. That judge that's in the earth has leveled man by simply putting all of mankind on the face of this earth through the same extreme situation as did Solomon in his courthouse when he sought to cut the baby in half. Okay? So that both could have the part. And so the bestial nature of the evil and wicked woman who sought to steal the baby from the one who the baby from the mother of the actual baby, the one who the baby belongs to, she was content with this and this alone. If I can't have a baby, neither can you. If I can't have the baby, then no one can. The world has that mentality. In America, those who have grown up in America, who have lived a good life and who love their riches and who have found this kingdom to be good, they love this kingdom with all their heart, with all their might, and they love this world. They grow to love the world, and they don't want it to change. And so they will say, if we can't have the world, no one can. If we can't have our nation, no nation can have a nation. You understand what I'm saying? If we can't be the greatest nation, America, if we can't be the greatest nation, then no nation can be greater than us. You understand? See, America is the Tower of Babel, in a sense, Nimrod, who stands at the very top of the Tower of Babel of all the nations of the earth, who have, in a sense, built their tower and have grown content in their place, and yet some are not content in their place. China, in a sense, want to stand at the want to sit on the kingship, because basically America is king of the entire world, and China wants to usurp the king, or Africa or Russia wants to usurp the king, and every nation is, in a sense, running to be sitting on the throne where America once sat. And then there's a hidden government, or a hidden shadow entity, or occultist entity that's working in the shadows that want to also sit on the throne where the Most High, or Christ himself, is supposed to sit over all of the nations of the earth. So we all have been leveled. We are all currently equal in a sense of experiencing the same thing. You see, we would all pant. The poor would pant about the problems of the wealthy, and the wealthy would turn their nose up at the problems of the poor, saying you could overcome belittling their problems and saying you could overcome your little bitty problems, and then the poor are looking at the rich like, I wish I had those problems, and yet you're complaining, about missing $1 million, or complaining about not making $5,000, or whatever you want to say, that the rich have problems that the poor only wish they had those same problems. Oh, I got too much money, I gotta spend it. The poor would literally kill for a problem like that. You know what I mean? But the rich are like, man, this is a great problem. And to them, those problems are enough for them to commit suicide or something like that, because the IRS is putting too much stress on their backs. Those problems to the rich are enough to cause anguish within their heart, and the problems of the poor are enough to cause anguish in their heart. So at every single level, man has a degree of problems that continue to cause anguish within their heart, and they cannot escape those problems but until they enter into the law of God. And they know how to regulate their soul, and suggest right things to their soul, so that their soul could send them the right emotions, the right understanding with regards to the situations that are before them. So, you know, um, through the suggestive thinking of the mind. But outside of that, we're all level. We're all put on the same exact level, because it is now judgment. And so judgment could never begin until the ground is level for all men. And so this is Armageddon, with regards to the true spiritual understanding of Armageddon, is the fact that the Father by force leveled all of mankind by simply putting them all through the same exact situation. And out of Armageddon, now men are warring to bring back their nation. They're panting, and they're all crying, and they're all in much need and in much want. They all look like babies right now, leading their countries. We have babies right now leading the country, not knowing how to alleviate the problem. And yet the Father in India, for example, the Father is showing all of mankind through what's happening in India exactly what's getting ready to come, and how the earth will be healed. All of men in India have decided that they're not going to be out in public. There's no traffic, no foot traffic. Man, the poison that man has become in the earth has been removed. And so now nature in India is taking its course, where you could still see the power of God through nature, okay? Where the toxic air is being healed, the waters are being healed, the lands are being healed, okay? Showing you the true nature, and this is what the elect are going to do. When men finally, when the elect are finally revealed to all of the world, they're going to be the ones that use the power of nature to usher in the healing, because it is the angel of earth that's going to regenerate the world, and all of the angels of the earth and of the world, of the waters and of the seas. They're going to generate the world, and the elect are going to know how to tap into that, because they already have. And then that brings me to the second half of the video. Is there, in fact, anything that the Israelites or the elect of God are doing to cause the Most High to come back? You see, he said he's going to come back for his namesake. And I'm going to explain to you all just how that is the case. Now, this is a twofold answer that I'm going to give you. that might trip you up, but in the mindset of the parasitical nature, you all will understand that out of paradise you get paradoxical sayings, and yet both sayings are true. Okay? You get paradoxical sayings, and yet both sayings are true. Like this, for example. The Most High is one, and yet in all things. That's a parasitical saying that comes only from paradise. You can't get that saying in the earth. Neither can you get that saying in the celestial world. But if you enter into paradise, you get the saying that comes from both the celestial world and from both the earth. You understand what I'm saying? The Most High is one in a sense in the celestial world, and in all things in a sense in the earth, and even in all things in the celestial world. You understand? Because he is the essence of all essences. So he is the one essence, and yet the essence of all things. Okay? He is self-existing, and yet exists in all things. You understand what I'm saying? He has no beginning, and yet begins. You understand what I'm saying? So these are paradoxical sayings that it took me time to realize the source of such wisdom. And the source of that wisdom comes out of paradise and paradise alone. Okay? And so, to a paradoxical answer, a twofold answer, I would tell you that it is because of what Israel is doing, and it is not because of Israel. You understand what I'm saying? You see, the law is a thing that's done. And the Father answers because the law is done. And so by answering because the law is done, he does it for his namesake, because his namesake is the law. Okay? And so, is it because of something Israel is doing? Yes. And is it because Israel is doing it? No. You understand what I'm saying? It's because the law has always been there. The power has always been present. That's why no man has ever done it. But until this time, because there are those called the elect of God that are making use of the law of God in the right way, in the correct way, in spirit and in truth. The true worshipers of God are here. And so the Father is moving because of his namesake that they activate, or because of his namesake in them, basically. His name is in the ones he created. From the very beginning, he said, let us make man in our image. And when man stands in the image of God, that is the name of God upon which he activates, or upon which he moves. You understand what I'm saying? And so, is he coming back for his namesake? Yes. Who is his namesake? The man he created, the holy man of God, the elect of God, are his namesake. You understand what I'm saying? And so for them, because they stand in faith, because they stand in righteousness, because they do the law, he's got to respond because his name is at stake, or his name's sake. You understand what I'm saying? And so the Father is now moving because the faithful are here. The Father is now moving because the true worshipers are here. He would not move. The scripture says the time will be shortened for the elect's sake. You understand what I'm saying? So we say he's not moving for man, but yet we pull out scriptures that say, yes, he is moving for the sake of the elect. Because the elect are faithful. The elect are tapping in. The elect are moving as they should according to the law of the Father. And so, when they move and the thing is done, they cannot take glory for it because they're doing it, or they're moving because they keep the law. And so, not by their power, but by the power of the law, that all of these centuries, no one knew how to tap into until you get to them. And the only reason they know how and are able to tap into it is because they have this one key factor. They truly love the Father with all their heart, mind, body, and soul. And then that love, all praises to the Most High, is exactly what led them to the point of revelation, to the point of manifestation of the powers of God. You understand what I'm saying? They love him so much that they let go of their sins. They loved him so much that they sought out his face. They loved him so much that in all of their trials and tribulations, they never let him go. They love him so much, you understand what I'm saying? That even in judgment against him that he would execute, they would willingly receive. Even if it means eternal damnation for them. They love him so much that they have lost all things in the earth. Wife, house, children, business opportunities, and political gain, and power gain, and honor gain, and wealth and riches gain, all seeking out for him because they in their hearts loved him that much. He bestowed upon them, knowing it would not be bestowed in vain, his great pearl, which is his noble knowledge. You understand what I'm saying? He bestowed upon them that pearl, and they fight every single day to faithfully stick to that pearl. You understand what I'm saying? Because it is a manner of worship that they find themselves in. And they worship truly. You understand what I'm saying? Whether rain, sleet, or snow, hell or hot water, they are in fact worshiping the Father through all strife, through all pain, through all situations. Cast them in prison and they will sing up songs of praise to the Father. Throw dirt on their name and they will in fact reverence the name of God. Mock them, and they will in fact receive that mockery and say, you mock nothing. They will receive that mockery in all humility, in all weakness, and still reverence the name of the Father. You understand what I'm saying? You see, the Father has put them through great tests, through great trial, through great tribulation. The Father has refined them in the fire. And so their love for him, or their zeal for him, caused them to enter into the temple within themselves and cast out all the merchants, cast out all the flocks and sheep being sold for sacrifice, right? And when they realized they had no animals within, or beastly natures within to sacrifice with, they began to lift up a holy praise, where there was no bargaining chip, there was no measure of substance to offer up but their own selves. And so that's what they did. They offered up themselves. I'm telling you by experience. And they offered up themselves to the Father. And having offered up themselves to the Father wholly, they do so by keeping the law, by seeking out the truth on levels that others would never see and would never think to go to, by panting and crying because they taken from them was the truth. And so they had to search high and low and in deep waters and go into the fire to find what man cast off, what no man cared for. They had to do that with all their heart and with all their might. And so they did. And in their seeking, the Father bestowed upon them through grace, through election of grace. And all of that is the process of the election of grace. He has bestowed upon them the knowledge in the truth, whereby they can tell you marvelous things, dealing with the soul, dealing with the self of man, dealing with the higher natures. They can tell you these things. They can speak words of wisdom. You understand what I'm saying? And then you truly understand the age of their soul and not of their countenance. You understand? You can look within their soul and great wisdom pours out. And they have answers to answer a lot of things because they've been there, done that. You understand what I'm saying? They've sought that out. They've asked those same exact questions and were granted the answer to those questions because of their heart. You understand? The sincerity of their heart. And so the Father has built them up and taught them on this regard. And the song says, I don't believe He's brought me this far to leave me. You understand what I'm saying? In no way has He spent this time on cultivating and creating me in order not to come in my generation. You understand what I'm saying? That's what the elect are saying. So they know that He's coming because of who they've been or who they are in Him. And so they have the mirror of past to look into. And they say, I've done it. I've ran the race. I've kept the faith. You understand what I'm saying? And I'm going to continue running. They say within their heart they love Him so much that they know that they are free to sin. They know that they're free to turn back at any time. And so they say within their heart, I will not. I will fight for the Father. They say, even though I'm free to worship whomever I please or go wherever I please, I will turn around and I will worship Him because He will not go through all this work on me in vain. He will not point me in the right direction and I not go. I will go. They become heroic. They stand up strong and firm, and they fight off the enemies and of the devils, and they try their best to help their brethren as they travel on their path. You know, but they travel on their path, and that's the key point. And so for them, the scripture says that the eyes of the Lord roam to and fro about the earth, seeing who is remaining faithful in Him, so that He may show Himself strong on their behalf. And so all of these powers are law. You understand what I'm saying? Every single one of these powers must in fact happen because that is who the Father is. And so they understand His name's sake. And so they know that they are in a sense a property or a part of, not the whole, but a part of the activation of the judgment of God in the earth, the movement of the Father in the earth. So they stay on their course because not only, hear me now, because their love goes deep. That parasitical saying that the Father is one and yet in all things, they understand that. And so they know that they cannot walk a selfish walk. They know that if they truly love the Father, they must turn to their brother in love. They must turn to their sister in love. You understand what I'm saying? They know that what they're doing, if man continues on its course, man will destroy himself. And the elect know that. And so the elect took the path that they would not normally take and have learned all the things that they needed to learn. And they know that they have not learned them for their selfish selves, but they've learned it to be that wellspring for others, to be that source of truth and of wisdom for others. You understand? The Father has bestowed on them in grace, knowing that they would go and that they would go and bring others along with them. They would go and teach others along as they travel their path. You understand what I'm saying? And yes, so He's moving for His name's sake. And it is also because of what the elect are doing, but yet it is not because of what the elect are doing, because the elect know that within their heart that the Father will have His. He will have His, and you don't have to be a part of that number. You understand what I'm saying? So they don't see themselves as anything special because of what they're doing, because of how they move their finger. You understand what I'm saying? Because they are the only ones that are doing what they can do. They say to themselves, if I don't do it in my generation, someone in a generation to come will achieve the very thing that I could have achieved in my generation. And so in all of eternity, I will look at myself in shame, knowing that I missed out on the chance to do with the one who in the generation to come, who truly loved the Father, who truly panted the whole way and finished the race, what they have done that I could have done in my generation. And so the elect set within their heart that I will finish this race, that I'm going to go the whole mile. And so they're traveling down a path that they can't stop now. They're stuck on that path. They can't stop. No one can turn them around. They're fixed in their way, in their march towards the Father. You understand? And none can turn them around. And this is the nature of the elect of God. I can only speak to you all from experience. And so that is why you look back in my life, all of the people who have dealt with me, who know me personally, and how much I have given my all to the Father, and how much I fight and pant with the Father, and how much of a discrepancy that has been in life seeking the truth regarding the Father within me. And so the elect know, they say within their hearts, wheresoever shall I turn? Where can I go? For in the deepest depths of the sea, thou art there. If I turn over a rock, thou art there. If I ascend to the highest heights of heaven, thou art there. Yea, even into the greatest depths of Sheol, thou art there. So, where shall I turn? And my heart is panting for thee. And so whatever I do, I'm going to always chase after you. No matter where you put me, my heart is fixed. I'm going to find you, Father. I'm going to seek you out. And to find that you are everywhere, and that where I've been looking should have been within from day one, the elect go to turning within. And they know that no matter where they go, the Father is there. They're not like the foolish fish who looks for the wisest fish in all of the sea, whose God is the waters. You understand what I'm saying? And turn to the wisest fish of the sea and say, where can we find the water? Only for that wise fish to turn around and say, you fools. Do you not understand that you're in the very waters for which you seek? And so I say to you all search high and low, and in all types of books and in all types of histories for the God that you serve. And I tell you, you are standing in that very God that you've been serving, or the very one that you've been looking for. You're standing in him as an image of him. You understand what I'm saying? And so for that name's sake, the one who truly begins to understand that and seek and pant him out and make him a part of the holy household of faith, the Father must move. Because the elect know that in their heart they are faithful, and yet they only keep that manner within their heart because speaking it turns it to pride. The moment you say it, you understand what I'm saying, turns it to self-exaltation in the presence of God and man. And so he's stuck with that private and silent conversation with the Father in all humility. Because with a saying such as that, they know that rebuke must also follow. What I mean by that is saying that, Father, I know that I am faithful in thee, but I also know that I am no better than any other man. You understand? No different from any other man. And so man knows, the elect know, that though they are faithful in him, they do nothing that the very next man can also do. And so their heart begins to soar and ache for the teachings of so to teach and be able to speak the right words to heal and teach their brother, so that their brother can do the exact same thing. Not without covetousness, not without, not to say without covetousness, but not with covetousness, and not with envy, in a sense, so as to say, oh, if I teach this brother too much, he might sell above me. No, the elect never think like that. They know not to think like that. You understand what I'm saying? For the Father does what he wills with whom he wills. And so the elect know that with them the Father wills that they share the knowledge to the very next man. And so you get the saying with Christ, who he turned to his disciples and says, who shall love me more? The one who has been faithful in me and turns back and falls off the wayside a little bit, and yet turns around from that, or the one who has lived a life of shame and of sin, and have finally found the way, and has turned from that gravid life of addiction and of sin in order to worship and serve me. The disciple, full of wisdom, turned to him and asked him, surely the one who will love you most is the one who has turned from a life of sin. And so the elect want to achieve love in the Father, and they see that one who is living a life of sin yet able to turn to the Father. If only they had the right direction, the right knowledge, and the right words to go, the elect seek that love for the Father, and they say within their heart, here's one who would love the Father, so I will share with them my pearl, so that they can love the Father the same as I do, yea, even greater. Just like what Christ said, you will do the same. There will be those that will come after me who will do even greater than I have done. And the Christ doesn't feel like, oh, I haven't done enough, or I'm selfish, I'm covetous. No, he wants that greatness to be done. He wants the love of the Father to be expressed in all of the earth. And so he teaches freely, so that that love can be done for the Father in all of the earth. And when that love is done, Christ is there to rejoice right along with them. There's no selfishness in the kingdom of heaven. There's no covetousness in the kingdom of heaven. There's no need for it. You understand what I'm saying? There's no need for it. Just like there's no need for one man to be jealous of the next man's breathing, who gets more air in their lungs than the one who looks at him. You understand? You're not envious of that person. You say, he gets to enjoy air just like me. I get what is my essence. I get what is my nature. You understand? If I want more, I will increase my own nature, and I will do the likewise, and not be a Cain who did against his brother and was panting against his brother, when the Father turned to him and say, why are you mad? Just do the same and you will be blessed the same. You see, his well springs are there, and whatever measure of dipping cup that you have, that's the measure of water you will receive, and you will be pleased in that measure, because you will say to yourself, I am full. Every man who eats and sups at the table of the Father will eat according to that which makes him full, and will walk away full, just as the next man, though one may be carrying in distinction more than the next. They will all be content and full in whatever they receive. And so when Christ, all praises to the Most High, took the 2 fish, or in the 5 loaves of bread, and caused the multitude to eat of a great quantity, he said, let every man have what is filling, or what will fill him, and eat and fill his belly, till he's content with what and sure about the substance that he has received. And so every man ate accordingly, and none was jealous at the next who had 3 fish more than the one who had 2. He said, I can take 2, I'm okay with that. That's my two. I'm gonna take my two fish or my one loaf of bread. I can only eat one loaf of bread. Here's my baby. My baby can only take a quarter or even a pinch of bread and a pinch of fish to eat. No man can go above that which he can sustain within himself. And so every man will partake of the fruits of God in the same exact nature. We will only be able to take that which we can sustain and hold within our bodies. You understand what I'm saying? Within our members. And body meaning our soul. You know, because our soul has compartments of understanding that allows us to only take according to that understanding. You understand what I'm saying? And so we can only be filled according to that. And we will be content and happy in that we are fulfilled and that we sustain within our soul. And if we want more, we will turn to our brothers and say, teach me how to get more or how to sustain more. Basically, show me your understanding so that I can understand in the exact same way, which will allow me to partake of the exact same essence as you. And then if he wants to go greater, he will ask the brother who has a greater wisdom, but he cannot skip steps. You understand what I'm saying? Or lest he be confounded. You understand what I'm saying? Because going too high, that's why milk versus meat. Going too high will confound your understanding, will confound your senses at the level that you've trained your senses to receive the word of God. Come on, bro. Talk some words to them. Let them know. Even though they may not understand. But if they do, all praises to the Most High. And so, we've all been placed on leveled ground. And judgment is happening right now. The evidence is the leveled ground upon which we stand. That judgment is now being executed in the earth. That's the evidence that judgment is at hand. And so, he is now returning for his name's sake that dwells within man, his image. And so, every man talks about having built up a name for himself. And so the Father looks at the Son and said, that's my image. I've built up a name for myself in all of the earth. And so through his Son, he executes on account of his name's sake. And his Son is his name. And that's the elect of God that the earth so sorely needs right now. You all need the elect of God as they need the essence, the substance that comes from the God that they serve. Because no man can skip being the elect of God and receive of the powers or direct, I'll say, or direct the powers of God. Because only the elect of God can direct the powers of God. And all men can become the elect of God. But they must learn. They must be tried. They must be true. You understand what I'm saying? You cannot skip that step. Because the Father must try you and search you out within to see if there be anything that will hinder you. Because if you begin to direct the powers of God through teaching, through wisdom, through healing, through all of these wonderful things of God, if you begin to direct the powers of God and you are a sinner, or you turn back to sinning and turn back to the base things of this world, there's no more room for repentance for you. You understand what I'm saying? Your judgment is greater at that level than it was had you had not known from the very beginning. So it would have been best for you to never know the path, or to have never been granted the gifts from day one. And so that's why the teacher who teaches falsely, who stands up falsely, is which is overdue for a greater judgment in the Father. Let me wait till this truck passes. They're due for a greater judgment in God. And so that's how you get the understanding. That's how you get the truth of the heavenly things of God and the nature of what's going on right now. We are in the midst of judgment, no doubt about it. The one thing that could have happened to a single nation happened to all of the earth. That places all of the earth in a place where their actions, on account of that thing that has leveled us all, will dictate their judgment in the eyes of God. So every nation, how they're responding from one nation to the next, is in fact judging the nations. You understand what I'm saying? Just as it is written in the word of God, we must wait until their judgment transpires. And so out of this situation, all of the nations are being judged according to the word of God. You understand what I'm saying? Because they've all been leveled. There could never have been a judgment had they all had not been leveled in the presence of God. So rest assured, rejoice, Israel. Know that the judgment is in fact at hand. And doubt it not, because your faith in believing that it is making it stronger, is in fact causing it to push along even faster, causing it to transpire even greater. You understand? So let not your faith waver in this instance, or you would sink, just like Peter did when he was granted the right to walk on solid ground in the midst of great deep waters. You understand what I'm saying? In order to get to Christ. And so don't look down, don't look back, look forward to the judgment of the Father, and stand strong and firm in faith, because your faith, Israel, which has been growing in all of the earth, your faith is giving leeway or manifestation to the powers of God through you. All praises to the Most High. How powerful, how needful are these words for you to hear and comfort your spirits and your soul in that understanding. Peace, blessings, and shalom to you.